The characters of Mortal Kombat is what gives the series its lasting effect. Thousands tuned in for the blood and violence, but those that stayed did so for the characters, their uniqueness, relationships, and abilities. And every character has their strengths and weaknesses. Some stray very far in one or the other, but at least there is no character who completely sucks at everything. But that all changes in this video. Hello my fellow oddities, and today we are going to be creating the worst Mortal Kombat character using the weaknesses of all the others. How this will work is that we will go through specific qualities like abilities, personality, or design, and establish who in the vast Mortal Kombat cast is the worst at that quality, which will then be carried over to our created character. And I was thinking, doing a video like this would be a lot more fun with another opinion in the mix. So it's my pleasure to say that in today's video, I will be joined by...
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, oddities. Thank you so much for including me in today's video. This is going to be a super fun time.
Happy to have you on the channel as always, Nick. Now without further ado, let's begin crafting our Frankenstein's monster. Our very crappy Frankenstein's monster.
For this category, we need a combatant that showcases immense strength. These powerhouses are actually just puny combatants that stand no chance when it comes to a battle of brawn. When looking for the weakest character in the Mortal Kombat series, it's hard to choose as many of them are deadly martial artists, monsters, or inhumans with immense strength. After looking, we found a character that screams puny and fairly weak, and that honor goes to Tor's jockey, Farah. Honestly, this just makes a lot of sense to us, where there are some characters that have a hard time breaking anything in a test your might minigame. Farah is a literal child, yeah, so not much of a competition to find the weakest character in this category.
We need a combatant whose attacks you can see coming from a mile away. They can't have any ability to really maneuver around the arena, instead just lumbering around, throwing telegraphed moves. When looking for the slowest Mortal Kombat characters, my eyes were immediately drawn to the big boss characters since they got a lot of heavy body to move around. Not fat shaming or anything, it's just a fact. And without a doubt, the choice I had to go with was the sub-boss from Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, Moloch, who probably has the most telegraphed moves out of any character in the franchise. And I don't blame him at all, because you try being Usain Bolt while being this muscle-bound and also carrying a metal ball and chain.
For this category, we need a combatant whose powers and abilities are not all that special, they don't give them much of an edge, or they're just plain useless. Powers and abilities can really help combatants get the edge in a fight and help determine who would win. So looking for a combatant that fits this mold was pretty easy. This honor going to our Ken Masters ripoff, Cobra. Yeah, this guy, known for such amazing powers and abilities such as throwing Hadoukens, fireballs, being good at karate, and that's about it. Yeah, this guy really doesn't have anything special or that makes him stand out. Cobra fits this category perfectly.
We need a combatant who goes in solo. No extra weapons, traps, or cybernetics to make their battles 10 times easier. They need to insist that all they need is their two fists. With it being a battle to the death, most characters make the very intelligent decision to bring along a blunt or bladed weapon of some sort, but only one man is brash and self-centered enough to go in solo. The action star, Johnny Cage. Now Johnny has used weapons in the past in MK4 and Deadly Alliance, and he did have brass knuckles in MKX, but for the most part, we know Johnny as the guy who uses nothing but his hands and feet. And maybe a little help from some War Cult shadow powers. Just a little though.
For this here, we need a combatant who is very comparable to the master of Psycho Arts, Dan Hibiki. By that, I mean that they're just a bad martial artist who would be outclassed by anybody. Just looking at a majority of the characters in the PS2 era Mortal Kombat games, they are masters in their martial art of choice. Outside of the sub-bosses, who rely on their insane powers and abilities to get an edge, there's one character who lacks martial arts to stand out. This goes to the beast of Mortal Kombat X, Tor. Yeah, this guy is a real master martial artist of throwing your limbs around, rolling on the floor, chucking a child at you. Not sure what this martial art is called, or if it even is a martial art, so alone this help landed him in this category.
We need a combatant who doesn't spend too long dressing up in the morning. They need to look bland and boring with nothing that stands out about them from their appearance. This is an easy one. Sure, there are Mortal Kombat characters with ridiculous designs, but at least the Suhaus of the world can be fascinating to break down. for all the wrong reasons, but I digress. But no one has truly mastered the art of looking both dumb and bland quite like Dairu. I mean, just the hair alone is enough to put him here. Combine that with possibly the worst color scheme you could possibly use for a character design, and you got the worst fit in MK history.
For attractiveness, we need a combatant who, how do I say this? Hopefully has a good personality. This character needs to be a real eyesore to anyone who crosses their path. Now, many of these characters are very attractive in the Mortal Kombat universe, which help make them stand out in the series. I mean, we have Mileena, Johnny Cage, Kitana, Jade, Serena, Shao Kahn. These are icons of attraction in the Mortal Kombat franchise. For all of those hotties and hunks, we do have our fair share of uglies in the Mortal Kombat universe, and this goes to our boy, Baraka. Yeah, what can I really say about this guy? First off, that face. There's a reason why Mileena wore a veil to cover up that monster mouth, but I don't think that would really help Baraka that much in his case. The dude has spikes poking out of his body everywhere. Also, this guy lives in the outskirts of Outworld, so he probably smells like rotting flesh on the daily. Lastly, those blade arms. Need I say more about something built into his body? Yeah, it's very clear who's the least attractive combatant in all of Mortal Kombat.
We need a combatant who has the personality of a cement block, a wooden plank. They have zero charisma whatsoever and nothing that gets even the slightest smirk out of anyone besides maybe laughing at just how boring they are. There are certainly typical options here. If we didn't already use them before, Dairu would be a good pick. Kai, Mocap, Meat, all of them we've barely seen their personality. But I would rather go with a character whose personality we've actually seen quite a bit. And there's not much to it, that being Kronika and Liu Kang's Time Guardian, Garrus. Garrus being so bland is likely an intentional decision by NRS, but nevertheless, could you imagine trying to hold a conversation with this guy for more than a minute without it devolving into awkward silence? Cause I can't, especially if it's MK11 Garrus. Liu Kang gave him a little more spice in MK1, but regardless, we're looking at both a brick wall of a man and also a brick wall of a personality.
For this category, we need ourselves a combatant who doesn't use a brain cell at all, going in throwing fists without strategizing in any way. Now, I almost thought about throwing in here Defenders of the Realm Sonya Blade because of all the combat time she yells out as her plan.
We need a strategic plan of attack.
I got one! Combat time!
But I thought of someone else whose plan is throw hands or club to win. The winner for intelligence or unintelligence goes to our pretty fly for a rotting guy, Draman. Yeah, this cursed Oni has only two things on his mind, his Iron Club and Unbound Rage to win any fight. Where he is currently in the timeline, he's dead. This guy's special moves include swinging his club, smashing his club into the ground, doing a Shoryuken with the Iron Club, and if those don't work, just throw the flies at the opponent. Hopefully something will work in his mind. This guy in combat and all of the flies that fly around him have one collective brain cell, and I don't think he has it a majority of the time.
We need a combatant who has no moral compass. Anything and everything goes for them, and there's no line they aren't willing to cross, either for personal gain or just sick enjoyment. MK has plenty of nasty, slimy villains to go with here. I mean, you got people trying to take over the world, take over the multiverse. Hell, technically people like Shao Kahn who want to merge the realms are gonna cause the literal death of all that is. But somehow, in that sea of tyranny and evil, one man stands out despite his lower level crimes, you could say. And that's the Black Dragon mercenary, Kano. I think Cabal said it best in MK 2021.
He's a low-life piece of shit scumbag.
It just feels like if Kano had the power to do what all these other characters can, he would be the most evil and twisted of them all, with no lines going uncrossed, and we saw exactly that in the Legends movie Snowblind.
For luck, we need a combatant who is just as lucky as Frano Salak, who's known to be the world's unluckiest man. If luck is on the line, they might as well be dead. This one was pretty hard to determine as many Mortal Kombat characters are pretty unlucky, but are able to turn around to benefit themselves. But we decided to give it to our other Shaolin monk, Kung Lao. We got a laundry list to go through here, so let me just spout this all off. Kung Lao has had the worst run in the past 15-ish years, from being killed by Shao Kahn in the worst way imaginable, a neck snap as he had walked up to him. He later became a Revenant in Mortal Kombat X, which is one of the worst story moments in Mortal Kombat history. He later was defeated by Shao Kahn again in Mortal Kombat 11 by being thrown into the Sea of Blood, to which he had drowned. Then his revenant self was killed by Shang Tsung after impersonating him in the Aftermath story. Then in the Mortal Kombat 1 storyline, he is murdered in the announcement trailer, then gets beaten out from being the champion of Earthrealm to a non-powered Raiden, and then if you want to go further into any other mediums, he was left out of Mortal Kombat 1995 and MK Annihilation, he gets killed by his own weapon in Battle for the Realms against Shao Kahn, and then he gets his soul sucked by Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat 2021. And then lastly, he was relegated to DLC in Mortal Kombat vs. DC. Oh wait. That DLC was cancelled after Midway went bankrupt. Yeah, I think I made my point.
We need a combatant who plagiarizes every aspect of themselves. Their moveset, design, personality, story are all derivative of another, much cooler character. There are a few copycat characters in MK, some are more so legacy characters like Jackie, Cassie, and Frost, but some are just straight up rip-offs, and I think the worst example is Jarek. Jarek has zero unique qualities about him. Every single thing you can say about Jarek, you can say about another character. That character often being Kano, Black Dragon Mercenary, rival to Jax and Sonya. Every move in his toolkit, it's all taken from Kano, besides his design, which is reaching Dairu levels of blandness.
Now for allies, we need to find a combatant who allies himself with some of the lamest characters in all of Mortal Kombat. But hey, at least they've got friends in low places. Our combatant allies himself with some of the worst characters in the series, someone just as lame and as stupid as them. So who better to ally our worst character with another bad character? Darius, a guy who is a literal ripoff of Wesley Snipes' Blade, but not being able to pull it off. All this guy is known for is being a guy who starts riots in Saito and being one of the worst characters in all of Mortal Kombat. If one of your defining features is just being a terrible character, then this makes for a great ally for our worst character that we're creating.
We need a combatant who has a whole rogues gallery of the most powerful ops in all the realms. Somehow this person has made enemies with several of the baddest men and women in the universe. The unfortunate reality is, being the good guy often gets you the most amount of powerful enemies. So I want to look at a character who's been at the core of the Defenders of Earth for pretty much every single game, Raiden. With his presence in nearly every title, Raiden has made enemies with Shinnok, Shao Kahn, Shang Tsung, Quan Chi, the Revenants, Kronika, and more. Hell, Raiden is even the one who has to face Dark Khan in MK vs DC. There are less villains in MK who don't hate Raiden than there are villains that do, and I think that's gotta earn him this spot.
For popularity, we need to find a character who is so memorable that whenever you mention their name, people go, "Who?" Talk to anybody who barely knows anything about Mortal Kombat, and I guarantee they can at least name a few characters off, or if they don't know their names, whatever some of their special abilities are. There are some characters in Mortal Kombat who were just that memorable off that alone. This one was a no-brainer for us. For our pick for the least popular character in Mortal Kombat is Collector. Introduced in Mortal Kombat 11, this guy fights with stuff that he has collected, talks about stuff that he has collected, talks about his loyalty to Shao Kahn to other people, and talks about his loyalty to Shao Kahn about his loyalty to Shao Kahn. That's all this character has to offer in MK11. He barely made a splash. According to a lot of player reports, this guy is the least played character in the entire game. He made such little impact in the series that he was relegated to being an NPC in Mortal Kombat 1, and when my friends played this day one together and we went through the invasions mode, we saw him and my friends thought that he was just made up for that mode, and they had no idea he had previously shown up in another Mortal Kombat game. Yeah, that just screams unpopular if you ask me.
And that's gonna do it. With these 15 qualities, we have made the worst possible Mortal Kombat character. A combatant that always gets beat up, has a bad design, who's dumb, has no personality, no substantial friends or foes, and that the fanbase hates.
I think we just made Cole Young.
Anyways, huge thanks to Nick for featuring in today's video. As expected, your commentary added a lot and made this experience all the more fun. Where can the oddities find more of your content?
If you're interested in Mortal Kombat, fighting game rankings, and general video game discussions, head on over to my channel at Knickknack Paddywhack. Feel free to follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, and Threads with @TheNNPW, where you can connect with me on other topics and see pictures of my cats. Again, thank you so much for including me in today's discussion, and feel free to subscribe to The Uncommon Oddity for some fun Mortal content like this.
One big final thanks to Nick for appearing in today's video. Hope it's not too long before we collaborate again. And that'll also do it for me. Let me know in the comments down below what your worst Mortal Kombat character would look like. Subscribe and leave a like if you want, and that's wraps on this one, my fellow oddities. I'll see you next time.